Hello, and welcome back to Hunter Tuned. Today we're going to work on the GSR again. So we're going to work on the motor. I got the rod caps all torn off. Sorry, my heater is on right now. Anyways, I got the rod caps off of each rod, and I got them kind of labeled for each cylinder where they came off of. And I'm installing the oil squirters right now to check for clearance, because some pistons on a GSR can run the oil squirters, and some pistons are a little bit too girthy, and they interfere with the squirters. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to alleviate the issues with the oil squirter hitting, and I'm just going to bend the squirter so it fits. So on these three squirters, I actually have bent them over slightly, like to the left. Here, let me grab a flashlight here so you guys see what I'm talking about. So the squirter is pointed more towards the wrist pin now, where normally when I installed them originally, they were pointing towards the, more towards the right side, and they weren't like crooked. So I'm gonna install the last oil squirter quick and show you guys the process of how I'm kind of making them fit. And hopefully they fit. They might still not fit, but I'm gonna do what I think is gonna work, and we'll go from there. So I'm just gonna take the oil squirter. This is the last one that I have to install still. And obviously it just sits right down in the block here. And it is held in with this 10mm bolt. All right, so now that the squirter is in, you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So currently the squirter is interfering with the right side of the piston. So what I'm doing to kind of alleviate this issue is I'm just taking a little pry bar. I say little, but it's one of my bigger ones. So I'm taking a pry bar and I'm just kind of gently giving this thing a bend. So it's gonna get bent just like that. And now it's pointing towards the wrist pin where it should be oiling anyways. So now when we pull the piston up, it doesn't hit the squirter until the piston is out of the bore. So I don't think these motors, the piston comes out of the bore, but it might. I'm not 100% sure on that. So I'm gonna just kind of put the main bearings in and rest the crank in there and connect one of the rods onto the crank and kind of spin it up to bottom dead center on one of the cylinders and see if the squirter is still going to hit or not. If it does, what I'll end up doing is taking the squirters out, and what I do usually is I just cut them like flush with the end and then I weld them shut. That's what I've always done in the past. You can buy the Golden Eagle block off kit that blocks the squirters off, but this is just the way I've done it because I'm impatient and it does the same thing. So anyways, I'm going to grab my bearings now and I'm going to put the main bearings into the block. Obviously I got the block all cleaned out in the last video, but I'm going to install the main bearings into the block, and then after that I'm going to put the crankshaft in. But first I'm going to clean the crankshaft thoroughly, even though it is already pretty clean. I'm just going to spray out all the oil holes and wipe the journals down, and then we can throw the crank in and check with Plastigauge my clearances. So we're just going to check with Plastigauge on the clearances, nothing too fancy. Technically the real way you should do this is using a micrometer and a dial bore gauge, but I don't have those tools, so we're just going to use Plastigauge. But anyways, I'm grabbing my bearings here. I kind of like how these King Racing bearings are actually separated for like the ones that go in the block and then the ones that go in the caps. It actually helps out because the ones that go into the block have the tab in the middle, and then the ones that have the go on the caps they're offset to the side, or vice versa. I think the ones in the block are off to the side, the ones in the caps are centered. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna chuck these bearings in and then I'll pick back up in a little while.
We're about to get edumacated.
What was that?
I said we're about to get edumacated.
Oh, okay. All right, guys, so we got Plastigauge here. I got my fucking gloves on, like a professional engine builder. and we're gonna Plastigauge some stuff and check some clearances just to make sure. So we have, this is the instructions for the Plastigauge, and it tells you to assemble the upper bearing shell into the housing and then install the crankshaft. So that's pretty much just saying, like, put the bearing in the cap and then put the Plastigauge on top of the bearing and then put everything together, torque it down to spec, no oil, just torque it down to spec, and then once it crushes down, you measure it with
it's kind of like this
shit. So it's got like little focus. My camera's not fancy. Okay, well my camera sucks, so anyways, it has measurements right on here that give you a thousandths of an inch or in metric for millimeters. So we did the mains already, and they all came out to about 0.15 to 0.2. It's in between the 0.15 and the 0.2, which is perfect. Fucking minto pinto. And just kind of for comparison, you want to kick that heater off? That fucker's noisy, eh? I was just about to say, you work at Harbor Freight, bro?
I used to for like 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, fuck that place.
They got good tools and good prices, but not good customer
service.
Oh,
well,
sure,
I mean,
sure,
HR. Yeah.
No HR. Okay, so where was I? Okay, grab the green. Fuck.
Yeah, that's
the green. Okay, so here's the green. The green.
Green.
And if we take this guy, it says 0.15 to 0.2. So the smaller this is, the more clearance you have. So the more smushed out it is, the less clearance you have. And if we take this guy and we kind of line it up.
Would you like some help?
Yeah, this one's right at 0.15, so at the biggest point. But that's pretty much what you do. You just kind of got to line up the thing, the ruler, and then make sure that it's too big or too small. And if it's like, it's a good idea to put it on both sides of the crank too, to make sure that the crank's not out of round, or the, you know, what's your fucking dealie? That beer looks fucking delicious.
It's a brisk.
It's a brisk?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, so anyways, mains are good. Probably just gonna put it together, honestly.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So it wouldn't matter what the readings are.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the readings are on there because I'm just gonna put it together anyways. But yeah, we did both sides. So like right here on the caps, then I got all my bolts. Thank you, Garrett. He hooked me up. He sent me some main bolts for GSR because I was missing one because fucking Christian took my bolt for his car, which I guess they're the same for a single cam.
Yep.
Who would have thunk? So yeah, that's where my bolt went. I found that out. But anyways, so the squirters are repositioned and the bearings are in the block. Now we got to put the bearings in the rods. So you want to wipe down these surfaces nice and cleanly. And then put the bearings in the caps nice and cleanly. Make sure you drop all the rod caps before you put it in, because it wouldn't be the same without that. You know, if they can take a fucking 3-foot fall from the engine stand, they should be able to take a little bit of detonation and boost. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm in a fucking t-shirt because it's hot in here. Well, not hot. Maybe I'm just withdrawing from the Lexapro, but
no, it's warm.
It's nice and warm in here. And like I was telling you guys in the other video, that once the outside temperature is like 30 degrees or above, it gets nice and warm in here, or it gets like tolerable. So yeah, we got a big old fucking snowstorm coming, so we're gonna be fucked after this weekend. So
tomorrow we're supposed to get, after 2 p.m. it's 100% chance of rain,
sleet, ice, and snow.
Yeah.
100%
chance from 2 p.m. until like midnight.
Yeah.
So hopefully we have a video coming.
Oh, you already know what we're gonna do. Yeah. The yee mobile. Yeah. Okay, so me and Christian had planned out this video for a little while. We're gonna do something with the yee mobile. I haven't updated you guys with the truck in a while, so I figured fuck it, why not? But yeah, anyways, we're gonna get crack-lacking and get the crank in, oil all the surfaces, oil all the bearing surfaces, chuck the crank in, oil the crank, chuck the rod bearings in, oil the bearings, oil that, torque it, torque it, and send it.
So why do you hit the button again?
I have to turn the camera on, then plug the mic in, and then hit the power button. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a holdup. So we were proceeding to assemble the motor. I have all the main bearings installed into the block here. I have the thrust washers installed, and we put the crank in. Everything spins nice and free. But if you notice, all the rods and pistons are actually back out of the motor because, well, if you guys didn't know, and I totally never thought of this, and I totally didn't think of it, but I actually ordered these King Racing bearings for a B18B or a B20, and they are wider. So the bearing is wider than a GSR rod bearing. So this is a GSR rod bearing, and this is the bearings that I had in there. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but they are, I don't know if you guys can even fucking see what I'm doing here. Hang on, we'll get fancy.
Oh, yeah, I seen that you bought that thing.
Yeah, so, okay, so a GSR rod bearing. It's like 17.5. 17.3 millimeters. And then the bearings that I bought, 19.1. So yeah, so what we were going to do, I have a few of the bearings that came out of these rods. I have 4 of them. And if I had all the rod bearings from the rods, because they were in good shape yet, I would just totally run these bearings. But I don't have all of them. I only have 4 of them. And our other option was to grind down the bearing.
The brand new bearing?
Brand new bearing. And grind it down. Because they wear on the outside of the bearing. I don't know if you guys can even tell on camera, but on the outside, opposite to the notch, it's wearing because it doesn't fit in the rod all the way. So when you go to put the cap on, the cap doesn't fit. So like we put the rods onto the crank, and the motor like would not spin at all. It like completely was tight, locked up, because this freaking bearing, here I'll show you guys. So this bearing here, like when you put it onto the journal of the crank, I guess this one's not terrible, but I did notice this the other day. I was messing with checking clearances on the rods when the crank was on the bench, and I noticed that they fit kind of tight, and I'm like, what the hell? Little did I know that the bearings are wider for a B18B. So I ground this bearing down. We were experimenting. I ground this bearing down to match the width of a standard GSR bearing, and it fits good. Like, it fits nice now, but I'm worried about the material fraying off, like when you're running it. Since I ground down on the one side of the bearing, here, I'll pop this thing out of here. So it's kind of even hard to tell I ground it, but I ground down one side of the bearing on the bench grinder. And I'm kind of concerned because when you grind down on this, it kind of exposes the inside material of the bearing, and I don't want it to start fraying off from the side. Honestly, I don't think it will. At least, I don't know. It might. It might not. I'm not exactly sure. But the bearing thickness, I think, is the same between like a B18B or a GSR, but the difference being the width of the bearing, because the rods are wider on an LS or a B20 compared to a GSR. They're skinnier. So yeah, I'm in a pickle now whether I want to grind down all the bearings to match the width of a GSR bearing and run them, The ones that fit in the block are all the same between like B series, K series, D series. Like they're all the same that go into the block. The mains are all the same, but the rod bearings, like I said, are different. So I'm trying to. Oh, Christian's measuring the thickness here.
They're the same.
Are they the same? Yeah, I figured they were the same. But yeah, like the cap on a. Here, I'll show you. So like this is wide, and this is not wide. You can kind of even tell on the camera. 23.9 and 22. Yeah, so like I said, the width is different. Like if you try to take a B18B cap or a B18B rod in general, they don't fit onto the crank. And I honestly didn't know this because like I've obviously never tried to mix match parts before, but lately in my adventures with car stuff, I've been a tight ass, and I haven't spent any money on any of this stuff, so I'm learning a lot of things that are compatible and things that aren't compatible. The rod length on like a B18B versus a GSR is the same, I think. The only difference being is the frickin' width of the journal. So
rods are all the same. Like the stock rods are all the same between B, D, H, I'm pretty sure. Like they're all the same rod length.
Yeah. The stroke is different on the crank, I think. I don't know. The wrist pin height might be different, but yeah. So anyways, kind of at a pickle halt right now because I don't know whether I want to grind the bearing down or if I want to just get a set of bearings. I'm going to see if I can get something quick to be able to put this thing together, but looks like we're kind of, at a standstill.
We're fucked.
Yeah, so here's my pistons. I pulled them back out. Had everything fucking lubed up and everything dialed, and then bleh, junk. So that sucks. But, oh well. We'll see what we can do. Leave a like if you want me to grind the bearing down. Because I'm highly tempted. Hang on. Not ground. You want to film, Christian?
Sure.
Alright, so I'm going to grind this bearing down to show you guys what I'm doing. So the notch is on this side. We don't want to grind on this side because this is the side that is interfering, and this is the side that needs to be shorter because obviously the notch needs to be on the complete outside of the bearing. So if I ground that side, I wouldn't be doing any good. But yeah, so what I'm doing, this fucking bench grinder is a beast. I've used this thing way too many times. But anyway. So I'm just taking the material off right here, and I'm going to do that all the way down. This is precision machining right here. Precision. She gets a little hot too. Always wear your welding gloves. So then it leaves this like grid of metal, so I'm going to deburr it. See what I mean? Can you see it?
You can tell.
Yeah. the wire wheel. I'm hitting it with the wire wheel to kind of smooth it out. But honestly, like, if you look at it straight on, look at that. You can't even fucking tell, dude.
Yeah.
You literally can't tell. The only thing I'm worried about is the side here where I ground it. If that's going to start fraying up. I don't think it will because the bearing, or the crank, it rides on here. It doesn't really wear here.
Yeah. I think we're gooch.
So, I don't know. And now, like, if okay, by the way, guys, I didn't measure anything. I just got a good eye. The first one I did, I was experimenting, and it was, like, literally the exact same width.
Yeah.
As the GSR bearing.
To the eyeball.
Yeah, to the eyeball. Ooh, this one's a little bit narrower, I think. Look at that. Look at that. You gotta get a flashlight on that fucker.
Oh, yeah.
Oop. So I'm lining it up. Look at that. Oop.
Perfect.
Yeah, literally like fucking Minto Pinto. Now this side is good too.
Dope.
So now that we can grab the rod, is this the wide one or the narrow one? Okay, so yeah, like if I take this guy, this bearing is like hanging off the edge of this. So that's why we're trying to grind it down. But if I take this bearing and I put it in here, it fits like a GSR bearing should, where there's a gap here on each side so it doesn't overhang off of the cap. Hopefully this shit makes sense. But look at that, dude. It looks like fucking factory, man. Like, I don't know.
No camera trickery.
No, there's no fucking edit. Like, yeah. So, I'm going to sleep on it. I'm not going to jump the gun, but I think what fucking motor would go together without a little Hunter-tuned fuckery? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, we might end up grinding all these bearings down and sending it poppy. But we'll see. What do you guys think? They're all going to tell me to do it.
Yeah.
You guys are bad influences. Unless somebody's got bearings that I can, like, get right now, this might be what I'm doing. I don't know. You think it'd be funny? I think it'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think people are going to... Oh, yeah, okay, so, like, I'll grind the bearings down. I'll run those old-ass fucking rings that are all fucked up. The cylinder's all wallowed out. Mm-hmm. And watch it run for 5 years.
Yeah.
Or blow up right away.
Fuck them.
That would suck, but... Mm-hmm. See, I guess I'm at the point where I don't care. Like, I don't care if it blows up. Like, it's fucking winter. Put it in. It works. We laugh about it. We drink beer. If it fucking blows up, we look at it. We laugh. We drink beer.
Yeah. Not really a negative here.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'll see you later. Have a great fucking night. And we'll catch you tomorrow for another episode of Hunter Tune.
Hunter Tune.
Hunter Tune. See ya.